Good afternoon and welcome to the CatchMark Sibary Cybersecurity Podcast. I am Brent Raeth here with Brian Sibary. We're glad to join you today. Brian, how you doing?
Good. Enjoying the nice weather we have the lakeshore today.
Are you cold in this office today, Brian? It's about 93 degrees in here.
So, yeah, so this office tends to be, well, since we started our podcast, was pretty cold. And so every time I'd walk in, I'd turn on the heater and Brent would complain because he, dresses warm. And so
I don't dress warm. Are you calling me fat?
No.
Is that what you just said?
So
I
turned it on today. Turned on the heater today.
The walrus dresses warm. The grizzly bear dresses warm.
So I turned on the heater today just to mess with him, and man, he flipped out. No. Wait, what are you doing? Turn the heater off.
Because I turned the air conditioner on and it's not working. So I'm a little sensitive about it.
Yeah. So, as I'm getting older and becoming a cold human being, I get that from my mom's side. And, yeah. So
Diane's always cold, huh?
Yeah. Her and my aunt, it can be 75 in the house and their coats on, double socks. And
Kara's like that too. She gets cold really easy. That's why we got a hot tub, B.
Yeah, I know. Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. Yeah. I haven't been in it yet. I'm planning on to partake and get a little soak tonight. And
this coming from the guy who was mad it took a week and a half for the electrician to come out.
It does. I want to access it when I want to access it.
What took priority yesterday?
Golf league.
Yeah, would have been perfect to come home after golf league, and we're getting older now. That swing can take it out of you, and you sit in the tub and relax.
We played a makeup match or a pre-makeup match with Connor and Danny, and so I didn't get home till about 9:15, and I go to bed about 9:30 if I'm not playing Company of Heroes with you.
That will help you relax.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go get in the tub like 2 minutes. Like I basically came home and went straight into my bed.
Yeah.
So I do a little TikTok before bed, and then I'm asleep. So I was teasing Brian about before he came on live. I asked him what his favorite social media site was, and he told me he hates social media. Brian has a very, very he has a penchant. I don't know, for TikTok. He's constantly sending me TikToks. He told me I was kicked out of the TikTok club when I didn't like a TikTok that he has.
Well, no, you said why do you send these to me?
I feel like that's poor cybersecurity practices. I don't feel like a cybersecurity guy should be as in love with this Chinese.
I'm not. I get on there occasionally between, maybe in the morning for a minute and in the afternoon for a minute, and that's it. I mean, I don't hate social media. I just don't.
Did you bring your phone in here with you?
In the social media? No, that's part of it. So, creating that separation between time with friends and virtual time with friends.
Oh, okay.
No, I just don't. I don't get on there much, and I do again. There's plenty of platforms. I've tried them all for short periods of time, and
which is your least favorite?
I loaded up Instagram and Twitter and don't use them.
You just don't care about anybody is what you're saying. All the pictures that people that you haven't seen in a long time post, and you can keep up with their family, and you just don't care. You just are like, you know what? These people are dead to me. They're dead.
No.
To me. I don't care. I don't care if I see a picture of a long lost friend from college.
I have Facebook. I've been on Facebook for a long time. And occasionally I get on there and scroll, but yeah. It's
all right. Well, so your least favorite is Instagram?
You're always trying to pin me on one. I don't use Instagram. Haven't used it much.
So how would you know if it was your least favorite?
I don't. I can't say it.
I don't like Twitter.
You don't like Twitter?
I'm very unpopular with that. I don't.
The character limit got you
No,
mad?
I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I kind of don't get Instagram either. It seems like a less useful version of Facebook. So really the only reason for those two platforms is to be cool. And I'm not cool. So I'm really using it as a tool.
Yeah.
But yeah. So now that I've grilled you on social media preferences and how you feel about that, what do we got for today, Brian? What cybersecurity related stuff do we have?
Security awareness training.
Oh, joy. Everybody get ready to go to sleep.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how you probably deliver it. It's everyone's favorite thing of the year, month or quarter?
I mean, let's start out with that. So we know it's important.
Yeah. I mean, so, I recently wrote an article and we posted to our blog about human beings still being the weakest link in cybersecurity.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That's going to be the case going forward. And
till AI takes over the world.
yeah, and then we probably become even weaker, right? I mean, they're talking about cyber criminals using AI not necessarily to phish you, but to draft those phishing emails. Crafty.
So now they'll be spelled right with punctuation.
Even they're getting lazier too, right? Just like the rest of us. But yeah, I mean, we're still the weakest link, and but I know even as a cyber person, you look at that email that comes in and as a reminder, hey, your training's due, right? You got to take your training, and you're like, oh, fit this into my day somewhere, and it kind of gets shuffled to the back burner, and you probably get right up to the deadline, and end up taking it. But we'll just kind of talk about different ways at which training is provided, whether it's in person or through some software and posters in the hallway or on the fridge.
All right, so give us your 30-second cybersecurity training. This is your cybersecurity elevator pitch. What are the 3 things that you need to remember? 10 seconds each. Ready? Go. You're on the clock.
So for cybersecurity training, you're definitely going to want to make sure we're covering social
25
social engineering attacks.
So social engineering attacks.
Insider threats.
Okay.
Authentication practices. MFA, password complexity.
Why do they need to be trained on that?
Because we still have users.
If you were dying and you had to tell somebody this is what you need to remember about cybersecurity as you're using it, you'd say MFA? It's
important. Yeah. I mean, I still talk to people even this week where we talk about password complexity. They, some of these topics have been around for years. But again, we still have different levels of maturity with our workforce and who understands, the importance and who's maybe slept through that training in the past, and they do, happen to be a victim of a phish, and that's when they kind of start to take that stuff serious.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like, right?
I guess I
got robbed. I guess I shouldn't have slept through self-defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so lay it on us. What do you got for us? So we got cybersecurity training.
Yeah, and so the kind of standard out there is that you provide that at a minimum annually, right?
Okay, so once a year we got to be schooled on.
At least once a year is a good idea. Staying on top of your latest threats and what those look like. And again, if you're looking to prepare a program, those are we mentioned a couple areas that you definitely want to cover. Social engineering, and that includes the phishing. It includes the cyber criminal trying to gather information from you.
Yeah.
Insider threats are important, and people who were within the organization, they have access to.
So I don't think we ever really got into insider. We talked about phishing in one full podcast. I don't know that we really ever got into insider threat.
Yeah.
Can you give me an overview of what do you mean by that?
So insider threat is somebody who has access to your internal organizational information, and they may do something that's malicious if they're disgruntled, right? They may be accidental. Maybe they accidentally put some sensitive information or send it out to somebody that shouldn't be receiving it, right? And so again, insider person is somebody who has access to your information, is internal to the organization, and again, that threat may not be malicious. It may be accidental.
Yeah.
But it's still a threat to the organization, the company, right?
Yeah.
And so providing training on the do's and don'ts, and then identifying when so if somebody is malicious, we meet with one of our customers who's trying to meet compliance with the government program. We always talk about the insider threat could be that person trying to who's being blackmailed by somebody, maybe to gather that important information from your company.
Like Jason Bourne stuff.
Yeah. So maybe they've been targeted and they're being held, some sort of a blackmail thing where, hey, if you don't give me these secrets from your company, I'm gonna,
So if I'm putting this in layman's terms, we got the CatchMark building here.
Yep.
And the insider threat is not the person that doesn't have a key to the building trying to break a window or pick the lock or get in. It's the person that has a key that's a valid employee.
Yeah.
And they may be ticked off because you did something wrong, and they may break the window and let somebody in. Or they may accidentally start the building on fire. Not maliciously, but they threw a practice. Or
Exactly.
somebody from outside might be like, hey, I caught you doing this shady thing tonight at 10 o'clock, let me in the building. Or I'm going to tell everybody about the shady thing.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so take us through it, B. So like, what do we got to do with cybersecurity training annually?
Yep. And determining when you're setting out to kind of plan this out, how you're going to provide that training. So, you and I both have been a part of providing training in person.
For sure.
All the employees come into a room, sit down, and maybe you buy lunch, maybe it's brown bag type of thing, right? And you get the employees all to come in together and provide the training, and that's good for conversation. Some questions at the end, some back and forth.
I'm laughing because do brown bags exist anymore? I don't
they
know
do
if they
somewhere,
do.
right?
Do they?
Yeah.
Lunch pails don't exist anymore, so I just assume that.
Well, they got lunch buckets.
Not the
Not the
aluminum
metal,
Star
not the ones we
Wars
grew up with. No, they're all soft.
with their thermoses and okay.
They have those for water though.
They do. They sure do.
So that's one way of doing it in person. And if you're, if you don't have somebody within the organization to do that, we can provide that service. We can come out, definitely, work with you to lay out a program, provide that training, be the expertise in the room to not only deliver, but answer those questions. Another way you can do it is, again, we work with a software company. You can push that out through an application. So, users can log in on their own time.
Yeah.
That way you're not having everybody together at once, though. They've got, we usually carve out 30 to 60 days, give you time to do it, fit into your business schedule. Go through that training. The nice part about that is there's interactive videos, there's some gamification, again, more visual cues and examples that can be provided. On top of that, you name it from there. It could be, like I said, posters that you provide, flyers. It could be emails, right?
Yeah.
We have one of our customers right now. It's word of mouth. They see something and they try to go out to the workforce and just kind of let people know, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what's going on. And
what are the pros and cons? So what are the pros? Let's start with the pros. The pros of in-person training.
The pros of in-person training. It's a little more personal. Again, you have that Q&A. So somebody may see something and go, hey, I got a question on that. Or better yet, they have an example to share. Oh, this happened to me and this is what happened. And,
right.
So that would be a pro. A con, I think, again, sometimes you have people who are visual learners. Sometimes those people see things and it sticks with them a little better. Again, I would say with software delivery of training, that gamification is pretty nice, right? So it mixes it up. And how many times have we sat in a lecture, growing up or whatever? And you just kind of get, doze out. Attention span's about 20 minutes.
Schedule too, is a big deal.
And schedule, right?
Yeah,
so again,
if you do it in person, you're bringing a bunch of people.
Everybody in together. Yep. And when you do the software side of it, I always tell people when we push that training out, if you have any questions, let me know. I don't really get any back, but
right.
But you lose some of that personality or that personal touch behind it, but it does. You give 30 to 60 days to complete.
Right.
It is more visually presentable in the sense there's videos.
So if you're taking training, which do you like better?
Me personally, with being in the industry, I do like the application version, just because again, it's fitted into my schedule when I can do it, and I like the visual piece, the gamification piece of it.
Okay,
yep.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we know we got to have it. Mm-hmm. We know that there's some delivery options and some things that we can do and some ways we can do that. You can do one, you can do either, you can do all.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
What's next?
Just, again, continuing to think about things that you should train on. So we talked about social engineering, talked about insider threat, how your employees should handle and manage sensitive data. And that means, how do I send it? If I send it out, do I encrypt the email?
So we're talking about the content of the training.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. The content of the training. What do I do? How do I destroy that sensitive information? When it's no longer needed.
What might be sensitive information? What are you talking about?
So when we talk about classifying information for companies or organizations, there's different levels. Would be things that are restricted or confidential, things that could cause harm if somebody found out that didn't have a need to know. We have information that's internal, and then even today we talked about one of our customers information that's publicly available. So they have some marketing data. If that information is accessed by a person that's not internal to the organization, it's not going to hurt that organization.
Right.
It's marketing data, right? So that's publicly releasable information. But there's different ways in which you should handle that. So if you have sensitive information that's internal to your organization, and this customer, we were talking about thumb drives, right? So they want to load information on thumb drives and leave the company. Well, if that's internal or sensitive information, we're going to make sure that those thumb drives are tracked, they're encrypted, they're, provided by the company.
Well, so what would you train somebody on with a thumb drive? Like, what would you tell
the whole process, right? So, hey, you've got a need. This is how we're going to go about helping you meet your need and get you to still allow you to do your job, right?
Yep.
Effectively. But here's our process that we have. And so you're training people on the process you have for, in this particular case, portable media.
Okay. All right. Well, what's next then? So we got the content. We've got, so what do we start with? We need to train. Mm-hmm. We need to do it annually. Mm-hmm. There's multiple delivery options. Mm-hmm. There's different topics or content types that we need. Things like, phishing and sensitive information and those types of things. Mm-hmm. What else does somebody need to know about cybersecurity training?
Again, we talked about authentication. So how you're going to use your MFA. Again, does your organization have requirements for password lifecycle? Are you going to use a password manager? Sometimes a new employee doesn't know. Again, we recently with a customer, we had one employee who, do we have a password manager here? The next employee hired the same day doesn't even know what a password manager is. So just giving them that education on how to understand, the tools that you have and the expectations. And
do you think that the baseline cybersecurity information that you give somebody, is that the most useful part of cyber? I mean, I think sometimes you go into that and like people aren't even thinking in that mode, like kind of like what you just said, right? Like I've talked to numerous people when they ask me about passwords, and the first thing I'll tell them is don't use them. Do two-factor, right? And then you get a weird look. And if you're going to use them, make sure they're 12 characters. And so as soon as you say 12, somebody looks at you and you're like, what? I can't remember my 9, or I can't remember my 5-character password. I can't remember my PIN to my bank card. How am I remembering 12-character password? And then you drop the bomb on them that it's 2 numbers, 2 caps, 2 specials, right? Like, do you feel like that kind of stuff, like people haven't even conceptualized that and how many people do you see like that, I guess, in a group? You know what I mean?
I would say it's getting, better over time, and we're seeing less and less of the people who don't, because again,
who don't know anything.
Right. And when I kind of, when I get a new employee for an organization, we're helping spin them up on some of the cybersecurity policies and procedures that the company follows. I start to ask them, hey, was there any sort of procedures that you followed at your previous organization? And some say, nope. And then some say, oh yeah, we're used to this. And, I remember logging in and taking my training every year. And so again, and and that's part of probably, everyone's like, training again, right? Because they maybe think they've got the same thing coming down. And that's where, again, using some software to help with that keeps the latest and greatest threats. It's not the same exact same training, but it's maybe coming at those topics from a different angle. Or, again, maybe some examples of new threats that are out there that new types of phishing attacks techniques they use. And
I found not the best training, but the training that people paid attention to the most was a combination of the insider threat training. I put together a lot of examples of, government espionage and how people everybody was just listening because they're always in for a good story, right? Like, this guy, had a really nice looking lady that was a foreign national approach him in the bar, and like they started a relationship out, and it was an affair that eventually turned into her pressing him for information. And like, I feel like everybody listens to those. Yeah. Those are like, so just as a way, like that is what everybody pays attention to. And a lot of times they think I'm making it up, and I'm like, no, these are real stories.
Look this person up.
Yeah. These are real stories. These are real things that happen. Your Edward Snowden's and your, the guy that leaked the classified information
recently,
a few months ago, that's all different motives for doing that. But yeah, for sure. So what is your favorite topic to train on? Like so mine of course is that, but what's your favorite?
Oh, if I were to think about all the topics, so one of the things that we do is fish simulation, and I like that.
You like that?
Yeah.
Do you like catching people? Is that? It's not. It's like a challenge.
No, it's not necessarily that. I feel there's a lot of benefit in it, and the reason I say that is, and that's so. One of our customers we are in the same building with, and I go into lunch and they see, oh, you almost got me, or man, you tricked me the other day. I said, well, it's not necessarily me. I didn't send the email, but you got it right. But it's an opportunity to encourage. I say, hey, look, that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Because I remember one of the people said, hey, I received an email. You guys wanted me to reset my password, and I clicked it, and man, I got another 2 minutes of training. And I said, well, no, this is a good thing, because now the next time that email comes in and somebody asks you to do something you don't feel comfortable with it, you go, oh, I remember that, and so it's those little nuggets that just kind of get stored away, and it helps to build better behavior over time. And because that is such a huge attack vector right now. And so it's fun to see and see the people, you talk about what training sets in, and that they always are like, that's kind of when they talk about,
So the burning question here is, have you ever fell victim to
I have not.
Simulated fish or a real? Not that he knows.
No, I have not. I don't answer phone calls if you're not in my phone book. I don't answer emails if I don't know you.
Brian may be the Unabomber. We're not sure.
Oh, no, I haven't. I haven't been victim of a fish.
That you know of.
Well, what are you trying to tell me, Brian? You fished me recently? Just kidding. No, I've seen some.
I got them all paranoid now.
No, I find
maybe somebody's got your usernames and passwords. Who knows?
Find it again. I've seen some really crafty ones.
Maybe it's somebody in a blue shirt sitting next to you. I don't know.
There's that bass again. I was telling Brian. So somebody's rocking bass out on
Brian is
Kobe today.
Brian is having some ADHD issues here. People driving by on Colby Street playing their radios very
bass loud. Is a big thing in Whitehall these days. But no, I've seen some really cool ones, and it's fun to see those and then use those as examples. And that's again sharing the training, right? So even we do this internally. We get one and we're like, hey, everybody, to keep an eye out. This is one, and here's why. So. Here's what to look for.
So one that I've seen that's been really popular lately, and as everybody's listening and we're getting close to our 30 minutes, just a bit of training is false links to OneDrive or Dropbox or Box or any of your other insert Google Drive, insert your service here, where it looks like somebody usually that has shared something with you, and there's a link in the email, and that's like it looks legit.
It's a hop. It's a hop to another spot.
It's a hop to another spot, and we've seen a few of those lately. And that's so. If you see something like that, and what I would say is, usually it's random. Usually it's from somebody but it's somebody that you don't often correspond with.
Yeah.
Don't click it. If you're not expecting it, call. Right. So. Yeah. An example of that would be if Brian sent me a Dropbox link. I know Brian doesn't use Dropbox. He's a friend of mine. We email back and forth. We talk. But I know he doesn't use Dropbox. He uses OneDrive.
If I send you a link to Instagram, click here to watch this talk, you know better.
I know better. If it's Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and not TikTok, he's fishing you.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so what you were saying is it's a hop. One of the cool things, we saw this one recently with Dropbox, and if I'm a criminal, the nice part about that was it sent it out, right? It comes from Dropbox, looks official. You click on it, and then it's like hopping you to the next piece of the attack, and that's where the file lived was. But now, a week later, Dropbox is sending you a reminder. Hey, you didn't go check that file you're supposed to look at. So
they're same Dropbox, same behavior you'd have.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They're doing legwork for
tricky.
Right?
So are the criminals smart, or all the rest of us just stupid? Which is it?
Oh. I would say that
combination of both.
Combination of both, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's I would say, I don't know. I don't know what the percentage is. That'd be a good stat to look up is on average, how many people fail to, fall victim to the phish with an organization.
Oh, I bet it's 60-70%.
Yeah. I think that number gets better over time as we talk about providing the training to your people and getting them educated. But as the cyber criminals get more craftier with their emails and sneakier, right? Like this is one we're talking about where they're just starting to layer that attack. People can make a click, and all it takes is one time, and yeah.
All right.
Could be compromised.
Well, we're rounding out our 30 minutes, and podcast is kind of coming to end. Any last thoughts on cybersecurity awareness training and making sure that people are doing it, or just anything in general that you have?
Yeah, it's again, I just send home the urgency that needs to be a part of your operations, right? Again, if it's an annual thing, at a minimum, that's okay, and again, a lot of our companies that we work with, we do annual. So if you're having quarterly team meetings, one of our customers brings me in every quarter to do a team meeting with their team meeting, just at the last 15 minutes, talk about some of the latest and greatest things that we're seeing. Maybe we had a change in policy. We talk about that. And again, it doesn't have to be in person. Doesn't have to be through the software. It could be, again, flyers on the
wall, some on a digital display.
Just friendly reminders, just to keep it on the forefront of people's thoughts and minds as they work.
All right. Well, we got a couple minutes left here, Brian, so I don't want to cut us off early. This is our last podcast for a bit for this season. Thoughts overall, how have you felt? Brian was, just for all those people out there, Brian's a little worried about that. I wouldn't say nervous. You were just kind of anxious about it. Did it go okay? Have you felt pretty good?
It's good.
Feel like it's a good thing?
Yeah.
We got one concurrent viewer, so I mean, like that's something, right? It's not zero. It's probably Courtney, but you feeling pretty good about this?
Yeah.
Would you do this again?
Yeah.
So I got to make a little funny. Like Brian went and did training for, who was it a few months ago?
It was trying to think of the name of the group.
And they absolutely loved you, regardless of it. Like I must have had nine ladies come up to me and a couple of guys throughout walking around, the different things that I do around town and talking about how great it was. So, we're doing this for free, in a sense that you guys can pick up and you can hear and you can get that same type of stuff that Brian went out and did in person right here on our podcast. And we're going to try to go with a second season and get that rolling. Do we know when we're going to do that, Brian? Do we have a date?
We don't have it carved out.
I think we'll probably take about a month hiatus and then come back. I would imagine it's going to probably be August timeframe. Mm-hmm. We'll come back with a whole new set of topics and things to talk about. Maybe a new program. Maybe we'll do something a little more exciting or crazy, or maybe we'll put Brian on a skydiving or something. We don't, you never know. You never know what we could end up with. So, I want to thank everybody who has listened.
Yeah.
I want to thank Brian for putting in the hard work here, coming up with the topics and being willing to get grilled by me every other week. I think this has been great. So Brian, anything to add there?
No, just thank you for being here with me and helping to drive conversation.
Awesome. Well, that'll bring us to a close at the CatchMark Sibary Cybersecurity. I think I say that opposite every time. Cybersecurity podcast.
I know you should slow down.
I do. It's a tongue twister. Cybersecurity podcast. I'm Brent, and I've been here with Brian, and we talked a little bit about cybersecurity awareness training, and we just want to say thanks for all those that listened. And if you are listening and you like what you hear, click the subscribe button and like our videos, and even leave us some comments or questions if you'd like. So with that, we will say goodbye for this episode and goodbye for this season, and we'll see you next season.
Thank you.